All right, everyone, please be seated. So, ladies and gentlemen, in case there was some confusion, I wanted to make sure that it is clear with you. The case that we're here for today is a manslaughter. I was just using the murder case as a hypothetical so that you all can think about different ranges of punishments. The difference between murder and manslaughter has to do with the mens rea. So, does everyone understand? And everyone understands what the charge is in this case. All right. So what I want to talk to you about before I release you from lunch, and I'm going to release you for lunch, and we're going to have to come back at 1 to continue with jury selection. So there are 2 stories I'm going to tell you. Both of these stories are true. The first one is about jury duty. Jury duty is an inconvenience. And this is why I tell people it's an inconvenience. It's an inconvenience because if you're not downtown on a regular basis, it's hard to find places. And somebody decided in their infinite wisdom that having a bunch of one-ways downtown would make traffic flow better. When all it does is it frustrates people because when you're new to downtown, when you're driving, I'm sure you finally found the place to park. Because when you're looking for it, you can't see the giant letters, they're hidden by trees. And when you find it, you realize you can't turn because it's a one-way. And then you start thinking to yourself, there's no traffic coming. It's right there. But since you're coming down for jury duty and you don't want to get a ticket, you decide, okay, I'm just going to circle the block. So then once you find your parking space and you have to pay for it, and you're thinking, why should I have to pay for parking? I'm coming down for jury duty. I'm coming down to do a service. Then I see all of you running because you have to be there at 8 a.m. And I always tell you all, slow down. There's still some more steps. But for some reason, jurors don't listen to me. I'm like, trust me, slow down. There's some more steps. Then you get there and it's hurry up and wait. And then when you hurry up and wait, you're finally called, and then it's hurry up and wait outside. And then you're brought in and the chairs are hard. So I tell people it's an inconvenience. And it's an inconvenience because your country only asks 2 things of you. They ask you to pay your taxes and serve on a jury once in a blue moon. Raise your card if you've ever served on a jury. And when I say serve on a jury, I mean you've heard testimony. Raise your card. All right, so that is jurors number 8, 25, 27. As I call your name, you can lower your card. 44, 47, 48, 50, and 60. So those of you who raised your card, raise your card if the trial you served on was a criminal trial. So that is 25, 27, 44, and 50. So those of you who served on a criminal trial, raise your card if you entered a verdict in that case. So that's 25, 27, and 50. All right, you can lower your cards. Oh, and 44. Now, as you can tell, the number of people who raise their cards, that means that your country is only asking once in a blue moon for you to come down and serve on a jury. This is what I consider a sacrifice. My family grew up in a small town called Grand Cane, Louisiana. My uncle was super intelligent. And that was in the day when you didn't have 60 or 70 people in the classroom. So all the teachers knew all their students and they knew all the families. So my uncle started school and they passed him to the next grade. and they tell my grandmother, Miss Lane, we've taught him all we can teach him. There's nothing else for us to teach him. We're going to have to pass him up to the next grade. So when his sister and his brother started school, they were not so happy with him because all the teachers would say, we're expecting a lot out of you because your brother's super intelligent. So he ends up graduating. And when he graduates, and mind you, that was my grandmother's firstborn, we had a little known conflict, conflict to break out. You may have heard of it, called the Vietnam War. And that was in the day. Nobody really knew where Vietnam was, what was going on. My grandmother had a 6th grade education, but she was super intelligent. She babysat me when my mom would work. By the time I started school, I knew how to read, write my ABCs, knew how to tell the insurance salesman who was coming to the door, no, thank you, knew how to answer the phone. So if you can imagine, during her time period, they did have a television. They finally upgraded from a radio to a TV. So they had a television. It was black and white. It only had 3 stations, ABC, CBS, and NBC. And NBC, you really couldn't count on because the weather had to be just perfect. Even if you move the rabbit ears around and put some aluminum foil on it, sometimes you're just not going to get it. But for the young people, you get all of these sources of news and everything else 24/7. Back in the day, there would be an end of programming. So their programming would end, and you would either get the black screen or either you would get the national anthem being played and the flag blowing in the wind. That's how you know television, there's no more TV. You have to wait till tomorrow. My grandmother did have a telephone, but the telephone didn't have numbers. So I know young people don't know what a touch tone is or a rotary is. That's what I grew up with. Her phone didn't have any of those. What you would do, you would pick up the phone and an operator would answer and you would tell the operator who you would want. That's why they had songs like Beechwood 45789, because operator, I would like Beechwood 45789. So she didn't have all of that. So when my uncle, and I know parents say they don't have a favorite child, but it's your firstborn. Usually you have an affinity for the firstborn because that was the child you practice on. They survived their childhood under your care. So all she had, of course, she had his name and his number, and she sent him off. And in the military, because a lot of my male family members, they all in the military. So what do? The first thing they tell you, pull out a pen and paper, you're going to write your parent and let them know that you made it safely. And you just wait for that letter to come. And my grandmother would send letters to him and wait for them to come back. And it would take months for the letter to come back because not only is it coming from Vietnam, but she's in Grand Cane, Louisiana, which is like a small country town. So she would get letters back from him. And what she quickly realized is that when you get military people in uniform knocking on your door, that's not a good thing because that's bad news. So I would always stop the story there. And then Deputy Laura would say, Judge, what happened? People wanted to know, did he make it back? He didn't make it back from Vietnam. He's since passed, and some of his siblings have since passed, and my grandmother has since passed. But I tell people that story to tell you that's a sacrifice. And your government is not asking you to be drafted. They don't have the draft anymore. The only thing they're asking you to do is pay your taxes and serve on a jury once in a blue moon. And I always see people waving flags. It's 4th of July. Let me wave my flag. It's Veterans Day. Let me wave my flag. It's Memorial Day. Let me wave my flag. And so your troops are asking you to serve on a jury once in a blue moon because we cannot have jury trials without jurors. So that's why I always say jury duty is an inconvenience. It's not a sacrifice. Your government is not even calling you up for jury duty once every 3 months. It's once in a blue moon. Now, the other story I want to tell you is about one of my best friends. She decided to do civil law. I always wanted to do criminal law because it's my passion. And she got called up for jury duty. So she said, let's have lunch. I'm like, great. And it was like old times. You know how you have those friends who are like sisters where you can not talk to them for years and then you sit with them and it seems like no time has passed. Well, we're sitting and I'm talking to her and I say, how is jury selection going? She's like, it is going fantastic. Now that I'm a judge, I'm like, how can it be going fantastic? You're not with Judge Boyd. Who are you with? So I said, why is it going fantastic? What's happening in this jury trial that it doesn't happen in others? She's like, oh, it's like when I was in law school. I'm on the back row, I'm keeping my head down, I'm not saying anything. And I started laughing. And she said, what's so funny? I'm like, I'm just happy. She's like, why? I said, we're going to be able to have lunch every week. So, other than raising a card and saying, please, I desperately want to be on the jury, the quickest way to be on any jury panel is to be quiet. And I tell you that because one, it's true. And number two, the state and the defense, when we come back from lunch, they're only going to have about 25 to 30 minutes to talk to you, to get to know you. They don't get a chance to see what magazines you subscribe to, if they even do that anymore. They don't get a chance to go to your house for dinner and invite you out to lunch. They just have this small window to talk to you. So be talkative. Let them know your thoughts and your opinions on everything so that they can make sure both sides that they have a fair trial in this case. Does everyone understand? Yeah. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to give you guys an early lunch break. I'm going to ask that you all come back at 1. Now, here's the thing. There are plenty, we can go off the record. There are plenty of places that you can eat downtown. You can go to the cafeteria. I think if you're walking out of the courthouse and you go left, I think it's towards the back of the courthouse. There is a place at UTSA called the Eatery. There is a Chick-fil-A. There is a pizza place. And some of them, some places are more expensive than others, but you'll be able to find some places to pick up a snack. And if you want to enjoy the river walk while you're doing that, you can. All right. So here's the thing. Look to your left. Look to your right. You are responsible for the person next to you. Being back outside, lined up, and I need y'all lined up outside by 1. So I figured this will give you guys a chance to walk around to find something and then walk back. And Deputy Laura, you know some places too as well, right? She's like, now. Oh, just the ones I mentioned. All right, everyone, please leave your